In this video, I have a saying about giving a rat's ass that's kind of funny. That how can you give a rat's ass? The ass of the rat isn't yours to give, so let the rat keep his ass. Or you can pick up a rat and hand him to somebody else ass first, and yes, you're giving a rat's ass. And if the other person wants to accept the rat ass first, to give a rat's ass, you're sort of offering up the rat's ass, and it's up to the other person if he wants to accept. So I'll have another saying too, that in some certain things, that if a rat's ass should really be offered or even given about a particular subject. So that's what I say about tolerance to a certain thing. You can say sometimes you give a shit. There's some and I also have a thing where I say there's certain aspects of giving a shit or giving a fuck. It's not that I don't give a shit or give a fuck. It's there's some aspects of giving a shit or giving a fuck that I don't give a shit or a fuck about. And at any given time, when and where should a rat's ass be given, or a fuck be given, or a shit be given, or even offered? You know what I mean? Alright, what's up, yins guys? Time for another video. I've seen a couple of videos about this, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. A couple YouTubers were talking about it. I'm going to say my take on it and why I think the whole damn thing is a big joke. So, people were offended in a comedy club and walked out because a black comedian was making fun of George Floyd. Oh, George Floyd. Oh, you mean that dude that did time in prison for pointing the gun at the stomach of a pregnant woman, you know, and threatened her baby in a home invasion. Oh, that dude. That dude did, did time for pointing a gun at a pregnant woman and her baby in a home invasion. And then did his time and got out and got busted for trying to pass a counterfeit bill in a store, and the police fucked up. Instead of taking him in, caused his death. Which, the police should have been more careful anyway. Oh, that dude. Okay. Yeah, that dude did a whole shitload of people did mass vandalism over a dude that pointed a gun at a pregnant woman and her baby. That whole mass mob didn't give a damn about a pregnant woman and her baby, but did all that vandalism over that dude. Oh, yeah, that dude. Anyway, there was YouTubers that did a video about a comedian. They had a lot of the audience walk out of the club or wherever he did the comedy show at when he was mocking George Floyd or whatever. And I think it's funny because the reason why I'm calling hypocrisy on this, the guy had a right to make jokes about him, because the whole situation was a big fucking joke. I mean, I can't even talk about it without almost laughing, I admit. Oh, and I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat here. This is the most important part. If it's of any consolation to anybody, if it wasn't George Floyd, say if it was a white guy who did time in prison for doing a home invasion, pointing a gun at the stomach of a pregnant woman and her baby and scared her half to death. If I heard that on the news, and, you know, a white guy or a guy that looks like me, I couldn't give a fraction of a shit. I would just laugh. I don't give a shit. Even though I don't give a shit, I still recommend, really, I would prefer that the cops, if the cops rough them up, take them in. Because even when the cops did that with George Floyd, I don't give a fuck if people hate what I say or not. If it's of any consolation to them, yes, the cops should have taken him in, especially, that was stupid, especially when they're in front of a lot of people. That was a bad move. But I still have no respect for
any of the marchers or protesters that did all the vandalizing, it was not worth doing mass vandalism and blocking traffic and blocking the streets and traffic in towns that had nothing to fucking do with it. That's why I lost respect for the whole thing and why I couldn't give a fraction of a shit. I still believe that they should have took the guy in. But, yeah, it was a big joke. And I'd ask you one thing. Say if it was you or me watching this, and say, just for the sake of argument, you went drinking somewhere and somebody put something in your drink, or you tried some kind of drug or some damn thing, and you were under the influence of drug, you didn't know what you were doing, and you went with a bunch of people and you got involved with a home invasion, and say if it was you or me who did something stupid. The only reason we'd do anything that stupid, I would figure, if you'd have to be under the influence of something, right, or whatever. But I'm saying that for the sake of argument. I'm saying if that were you or me that were dumb enough to commit such a crime on home invasion, and we did time for it pointing a gun at a pregnant woman, man, we wouldn't last a minute. Yeah, cops, instead of arresting us, if we would be dead, nobody would be marching the streets. Nobody would care. There would be no outrage. They're picking and choosing their outrage. Looking over there as Amazon truck coming or whatever, see if we got a package. But anyway, yeah, I'm distracted doing the video. All right, so yeah, if it were you and me, we're dumb enough to do such a home invasion. And if it were you and me, we probably wouldn't even survive prison, okay? But yeah, pretend you and me did such a thing like George Floyd, point a gun at some pregnant woman or baby, and you made it through prison. Pretend you survived prison or whatever the hell. Did your time, got out, and then you were dumb enough to try to pass counterfeit money, and the police, instead of taking you in, they fucked up or whatever, and you end up dying. Nobody would care. And here's another thing I'd tell you why I side with that comedian, why nobody would give a shit. And this is another part of reality I'm going to tell you here too, which I'm touching on what I just said. You know, I already gave you the scenario if you were watching this or me that did what George Floyd did. Yeah, so I'm saying that even though I think the cops should have I'm going to remind you one more time, even though the cops should have taken him in, because look what it did cause, I agree with that. Nobody has to give a shit. General Giant, my ass, the guy, that General Giant who pointed a gun at a pregnant woman and their baby, theoretically, the victims of that home invasion, if they had a licensed firearm or a lamp to beat him in the head with, he would have been rightly killed in self-defense. So theoretically, it would have been better if the dude was killed by the homeowners in self-defense with a lamp or whatever the hell, than getting caught. Who would know he would get caught? He'd get arrested, do his time, do something stupid, and the cops would fuck up. Yes, I admit the cops fucked up. But yeah, that's another thing. And another thing, I'm going to go back to the if it were you or me thing too. Why, if it were you and me, we wouldn't care. If it were you and me that did something like that, a home invasion, there was another thing too to consider. Even though I don't condone this, it's against the law. When you do stupid shit like this, whether you're black or white, I don't give a fuck who you are. Oh yeah, I also saw one of these other YouTubers talking about it, how they knew. I always wondered what the race or identity of the victims of that home invasion were. Somebody, one of the YouTubers I looking at, said the victims were Latino. But yeah, whether it's black on black, white on white, it's still wrong. But I'm okay again. I'm going to come out with it here too. If it were you and me, why you shouldn't do such things too, before even the police catch you, okay, depending on where you at. Say you home invade the wrong people, right? And they come after you, can say the police don't catch you and they find out who did it, no matter what color you are. and say the victims are related to the wrong people, and they find out who you are, you can wind up in the trunk of somebody's car. Maybe I'm getting this from watching too many movies in here, you know what I mean? But I'm still, even though you want to say, hey, you're watching too many movies. But yeah, I'm a firm believer what my stepdad used to say. He died like about a year ago or something. I never went to the funeral, but I never forget what he said. He used to say, even when I was a teenager, about certain crimes you see on the news, you don't always got to worry about the police catching you. What if, not to stereotype Italians, what if they were, Italian and they were related to certain kind of Italian, crime syndicate or whatever? Yeah. Even though that's on television, that wouldn't be no joke if they get a hold of you before the police, and maybe some of them know the police too, you know what I mean? Or if it's black on black, or if it's white on black crime, you know what I mean? The victims, whatever color identity they are, they might know somebody too, some kind of group somewhere that'll get you, you know what I mean? And once again, wind up in the trunk of somebody's car. And then once again, you commit a crime like that, which I tell you, which really theoretically should have happened to George Floyd. Say you or me, do such a thing, a home invasion. You could get unlucky enough to be beaten to death with a lamp, or somebody else with a gun. Say you have a gun and they don't. I mean, even though you're dumb enough to do a home invasion with a gun and pretend they don't have a gun, you have a gun and they don't. And maybe you don't see out the corner of your eye, somebody else in there beats you in the face with a lamp and kills you, in self-defense. That can happen. You're waving a gun around, and man, all of a sudden, somebody else you don't see in the house brains you to death. You get brained with a baseball bat or a lamp, you know what I'm saying? That shit can happen too. So that's why you shouldn't do home invasions to start with. And yeah, you or me did it, and say you didn't get killed in self-defense by the homeowner, right? And you did the jail just like George Floyd, come out and you were dumb enough to counterfeit something. Cops, even though they're supposed to turn you in, they wind up causing your death. If it were you and me, would there be people marching in the streets? Fuck no. They're picking and choosing. I mean, and you gotta look at how many such home invasions like that involve maybe pregnant women in the house that you don't see on the news. Some are black on black, some are white on black, some are black on white. White on white, black. White on white, black. White on white, black on black. Latino on Latino. You cover it all, it's still wrong. And even though you're not making heroes out of the police, large mobs of people would organize a protest. They had no fucking right whatsoever to incite riots. There should have been people investigated for and jailed for inciting riots, vandalism of businesses and all that shit, for in places that had nothing to goddamn do with it. That's why I don't have respect for it. That's why I don't give a fuck about George Floyd, and the reason why I don't give a fuck about any white guy who dies the same way. If it's a white guy, I still don't give a fraction of a shit. And that's why if a comedian who happens to be black, by the way, wants to joke about it, so the fuck what? Remind you again, sure, the police should have took the guy in. How the hell hard was it, And I actually believe they were good part of the cause of the riot. All those riots that went on, not saying that was right. But I'm going to tell you right now, if it's a white guy or somebody that looked like me that did such a thing and the cops caused their death, I wouldn't give a fuck. I would just laugh. Sure, the cops should take them in. Yeah, what if that home invasion you did time for? Would you give a shit what the cops do to the guy if that was your wife, your pregnant wife and your baby? Whether you're black or white watching this, what if somebody, whether it's the same color as George Floyd, white guy, come in your house and point a gun to your baby, and you find out he did time in prison, got out, right, and did something stupid like counterfeiting, and the cops caused his death? Tell me you're not gonna give a fuck. Don't even fucking try to tell me different. And if you got this far in this video too, I remember when we were looking for a new place to live or whatever, in the process of moving or whatever, the whole George Floyd thing in 2020. Saw some arrogant ass bitch on Good Morning America because of the incident, saying that all white people had to apologize to them because they're white, and then all white people, instead of living their own life, doing their own thing, minding their own business, they're not gonna. She's not gonna accept anybody saying they're not racist or living their own lives, minding their own business. You got to declare yourself anti-race, open, and you got to go to her, whatever, somebody did these seminars, meetings, anti-racist meetings, buy and read their bullshit books and donate money, demanding that you do that. Get the fuck out of here. So yeah, what I believe in a, I don't want to say, what actually I'm going to say, here's how I'm going to say it. I'm a firm believer that when you do things like home invasions like that, there's retribution that happens. When you do a home invasion, if you don't get caught by the cops, there's other things that are just going to happen to you. That's part of the karma, the retribution. You reap what you sow. George Floyd reaped what he sowed. Yeah, and I don't want to hear this. I do agree, even though I don't want to hear this bullshit that people will try to say, even though I agree that everybody, yes, I'd still believe that everybody that did time in prison for a thing deserves a second chance. Absolutely. You did the time, you got off on parole. That means don't do no other shit. But some things, and by the way, too, some of the stuff, you can get killed in prison, too. And that's why some things, even though I agree that people that got out of prison deserve a second chance, there are still some things that you do that people do not forget. They will want to kill you or want to see you dead, including whether it's cops or can be family members, people related to the victims. I mean, there's a list of certain crimes that people do not forget. They remember you, whether it's the cop will actually have it in for you that they hate that type of thing, even though the cops, if they catch you for something again, they're supposed to take you in. And even if it ain't the cops. So if you do a particular thing that you better get out of prison, you better be damn repentant and preaching it like the gospel, you know what I mean? Because that's the way it is. Certain things that you do don't get forgotten. And I think that's just what happened. I mean, even though you have cops that say caused George Floyd death, or like I said, I don't care what color they are, I don't really give a shit. But when you do things like that, that's just how it goes. That's how it is.